Good morning, everyone. How are you? Hopefully better than I am. Yeah, I think it was Jerry that said when the weather starts to get warm, all the germs and things that were frozen are suddenly released into the air. It's kind of a good theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's kind of a good way to think about things. This is the fifth Sunday of the month of March, right? And we've had such a full month of March. Every single week there was something special happening. And it couldn't have happened without so much support from everyone in our congregation. So I just want to thank everyone for everything that they contributed for the Sunday service that we had about the March 1st declaration, for the Project Phoenix conference, for the installation, Mika's installation, for the Ilshim, especially for the Ilshim. You know, that was our youth team had never done anything like that before. And they took it on, and I think I only see Taka in the room. So let's just give them all a hand. I think they're still recovering. But, you know, I think it was for 6 weeks, every Saturday, they met with the high school students, and then they took a weekend in Gloucester. And so they really took a lot of responsibility, not knowing what they were doing, and, you know, having never done it before. But doesn't that sound familiar to some of us? Didn't we take on a lot of stuff that we didn't know what we were doing? So I feel like that's a sort of path of inheritance is taking place, which is really beautiful to see. Also, I just want to bring, Taka, do we have the slide? Because I didn't really feel well, I completely forgot to put this in our letter today. But you've been hearing about this. I guess that's the conference that we've been organizing on spirituality and science and technology, and it's happening in 2 weeks. And Hiroi-san has done, and his team have done a great job of finding some of our members from around the country that have real expertise in this area. David Burton is a brother who lives down in Bridgeport. I can't read it. Chemistry, okay? Professor of chemistry. Andy Combs is coming from California, and he works with the WRIST organization. And then our sister Allison Walklin is in, what is that? I can't read it. What? Astrophysics. Like, this is so far out of my, I'm really excited about this conference because I know so little in these areas, and I'm really looking forward to learning a lot. We're going to spend the Saturday together. We'll have a morning kind of plenary session where different talks will be given. There'll be a chance for questions and answers. There's going to be different breakout sessions. So if you haven't already signed up, I would encourage you to sign up. The link is on our Facebook page. It's only $25. I can't even remember. It was such a small amount that I shouldn't say a small amount, but anyway, it's not really expensive. If money is a problem, please let me know. But I think this is something. Go ahead. The early bird discount ends today. So please sign up, and if you know any people that would be interested, also feel free to invite them. Thank you. Then, also, before I gave my sermon, I just wanted to read something that I sent out last week. Was the testimony of the pastor in Southern California that's hosting Mother's Speech next week. He also spoke at the Nassau Coliseum event, and I was really moved by what he said there. I thought, wow, it's like he's speaking right out of the principle of creation or right out of Christology, because he spoke at that time about, you know, if all of us are in the image of God, then when we meet one another, we're meeting God. And he spoke that way, which was kind of different, I think, than what I'd heard often many pastors say. But this was just an excerpt from the sermon that he gave in his congregation a couple of weeks ago. As you have heard, the announcement has been made that on April 6th, we will be having quite a community coming together under the direction of Dr. Moon. Mother Moon is coming in, and we're going to have quite a service. We're not dealing with the intricacies of idiosyncratic doctrine. We are dealing with the fundamental principles that surround Christianity and the fundamental Christian principle that we love one another and that we have peace together. That becomes the expression of one's spiritual maturity. It's not simply to talk about one's idiosyncratic conceptualization of God, but it's much wider than that. I would have to come from being in a cave not to have seen the discord and animosity that people are having towards one another, not in this country, but in the world. And then he just goes on to say that this is an opportunity to come together as Christians in peace and love. But I just thought, for a Christian minister to say, we're not going to deal with the intricacies of idiosyncratic doctrine, that's maybe those words are, that he just like, we're not going to get into picking about doctrine and what you believe. And that's really signifies a big shift. And I just wanted to like point that out. And I'm sure they're going to have a really wonderful program next week. And I don't know if we're going to get kind of information as to watch it, or maybe next Sunday we'll be able to watch it. So anyway, I just wanted to draw attention to that. So the title of my sermon today is Impeccable Words. I've been thinking about the mechanics of growing to spiritual maturity or perfection. It is something that all faith traditions aspire to. Jesus called us. Yeah, green light. Go ahead. Jesus called us to be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Father Moon similarly challenged us to become like God. In other faith traditions, there are similar appeals. This is from Shintoism. The deity is immanent in man, and man is inherent in the deity. There is neither the divine nor the human. There is neither the divine nor the human. There is no difference in essence at all between them. Hinduism boldly proclaims, the shining self dwells hidden in the heart. Everything in the cosmos, great and small, lives in the self. He is the source of life, truth beyond the transience of this world. He is the goal of life. Attain this goal. I don't know about you, but this is a little bit intimidating. Attain this goal. It challenges my belief in myself. Can I really do that? We often quote that you must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect, but what is the vision that we have for ourselves? Do we really believe that kind of a perfection of heart is something that we can reach? And if it is, then we need to know what are some of the steps that we need to take. Sometimes I felt in our movement that I was standing on the side of a river, a big rushing river, and I was being told, you have to go to the other side. Everything meaningful is on the other side of the river, but it's like, I don't have a boat. I don't have a bridge. How the heck am I supposed to get across this river? I don't know if anybody's ever felt that, but so I have felt that. And so I want to look at sort of the mechanics of growth and practical ways that we can grow our spirit. I don't believe God would promise heaven for us if it wasn't possible. And we simply wouldn't be able to dream of it if it wasn't attainable. The fact that we can imagine and hope for that realm of heart means that it's within our grasp. The bottom line, though, is that perfection is an inside-out proposition. Sometimes I try to tell myself, well, everything would be better if I had a better house, a better car, if I could travel the world. But they've actually done studies on happiness that at a certain point, the amount of money that people have doesn't influence their happiness. So we know that there's something more than just the material things. It's also, though, easy to focus on the superficial and have like a Facebook or an Instagram presence that doesn't really reflect our real lives. It's ironic that we know so much about each other and yet nothing at all. So much of our interaction is superficial. You can receive tweets from friends across the country or even around the world about what they ate for lunch, or see what they ate for lunch, but not really know them at all. With perfection seeming so distant, it's kind of easy to hide. However, hiding from yourself also takes up your energy. If we want to be happy and achieve some kind of spiritual maturity that we aspire to, then we have to invest. Perfection or maturity isn't a one-time event. So I'm passionate about the how-tos to spiritual maturity. Otherwise, if we don't know how to, it's just kind of another idiosyncratic idea. The first step towards spiritual maturity is to be impeccable with your words. It sounds simple, but let's examine what it really means. Words can have a huge impact on us, especially if those words are hurtful. The human mind is incredibly fertile, notably a child's mind. Children learn and absorb like sponges. They take in their environment, the good and the bad. Although teachers may try to make everyone feel equal, it doesn't take long before a child knows who are the fast readers, who are the slow readers, who are good at this, who's good at that. Also, it doesn't take much for like mean words on a playground to become the voice that people hear in their heads for the rest of their lives. I heard a story recently from a second gen that spoke about being in a Sunday school class and being right in the center of a line of girls and boys. And this person was the only one of his gender that was singing when they sang a song. And somehow that made such an impact on him that he felt uncomfortable around kids his own age for a good part of the rest of his life. So simple experiences that we have, even things that people say to us, that impacts us. But equally strong are the positive experiences that I'm sure we've had when you've maybe given someone a compliment or encouraged them, and you saw them become like literally transformed before your eyes. The power of that one word was to instill hope, confidence, perhaps even pride in another person. Your words of encouragement are reflected back in that person's face. I think for many of us that attended the Project Phoenix conference a couple of weeks ago, you might have had that experience at the end of the conference when we did the appreciations. We all were in groups, and we'd spent a whole day and a half together. And a lot of the people in the groups didn't know each other when they came together. And at the end of the conference, after people had shared kind of what was meaningful for them, then we appreciated one another. So, for instance, I could say to Harmony, I really admire you. I admire your commitment to social justice. I admire that you put your money where your mouth is, that you're always concerned about other people, and you want to really work hard. When you come to serve, you serve with your whole heart. I really appreciate that about you. Harmony, do you feel a little bit better? Do you feel good, or do you feel embarrassed? You probably feel embarrassed. But I think all of us, did you have that experience in Project Phoenix when you were appreciated? It felt good, right? It felt good. What a novel concept to actually intentionally tell each other what we appreciate about each other. And it is transforming. We had a similar experience when we were we've been having some follow-up calls, and we ending every time with appreciations. And we all feel better somehow afterwards. So the power of our words is really powerful. The power of our words is really, somebody give me an adjective. It's remarkable. It's life-changing. So your word holds the power to create. Your word is a gift that comes directly from God. We are all familiar with John 1, 1-2. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. According to the Bible, God brought the creation into being through the Word. When you think about it, this is how we create too. We manifest our intention. It doesn't matter what language we speak. What we dream, what we feel, and who we really are will be manifested ultimately through our word. Words organize and give life to our thoughts, creating the events that define our life. We are unique among the creation in that we're the only creation that has the imperative to become like our heavenly parent. God's not asking that of lions, tigers, and bears. Our practical plan to perfection is created as we become impeccable with our words. The word impeccable means without sin. It comes from the Latin peccate, which means sin, and the prefix im or in, which means without. What does it mean to have words without sin? To be impeccable with our words means not to go against ourselves or others. Sin begins with a rejection of our own value and the value of others as God's sons and daughters. We allow ourselves to put ourselves down and to put down those around us. This is an age-old problem we can see from James chapter 3, verse 7-9. People can tame all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and fish. I don't know back then if they were taming fish, but that's maybe it's a rhetorical statement. But no one can tame the tongue. It is restless and evil, full of deadly poison. Sometimes it praises our Lord and Father, and sometimes it curses those who have been made in the image of God. This last line got to me. How many times have my words cursed people who have been made in the image of God? Consider how many times we have gossiped about people we love just to gain support for our point of view, or spread poison about someone to make ourselves look better. Your opinion is simply put your point of view. We often create poisons and spread it to others so that we can feel good about ourselves. It's interesting that Jesus said it's not that which goes into the mouth that defiles a man, but that which comes out. I remember a number of years ago, I got my first computer virus, and it was a kind of a killer worm that got into my computer, and it was saying is sending stuff out to everybody, and kind of being the person who only understood how to turn the computer on. And, every time there was a Microsoft update in those days, I would get confused because it would change, how I did things. So I called the Geek Squad. Does that still exist? Yeah, okay. And they can, from a distance, they can come into your computer, and you can watch them as they're going through file after file, cleaning it out. And it made me think about later that as they did that, all the corrupted files were taken care of, and my computer was no longer able to have a negative effect on others. When we read and when we act as our Holy Scriptures directs us, it's like turning on the virus-killing software. The truth has the power to clean out all the corrupted files in our hearts. It can do that because it helps us understand the mechanism through which the files became corrupted in the first place. It has the right code to connect us back to God. We have to cleanse ourselves of the corrupted software, the false messaging that causes us to become tainted and to spit out destructive and debilitating ideas and words. And a lot of this is not just words about others, it's what is the tape that runs in our own head about ourselves. I'm just like this. I can't change. I've always been like this. Sometimes the mistakes that other people make help us to create and develop more spiritual maturity. When we meet the challenge of someone that might have said something about us or something about our family that was wrong, unjust, spiteful, or even cruel, we can moderate our own reactions and dig deep to discover those impeccable words for ourselves. And through that, we can discover our own divinity. Father Moon was the master of digesting difficulty and of creating peace through the power of impeccable words. He could create peace because he was always uplifting others. He gave impeccable words to Kim Il-sung, someone who had tried to kill him in a North Korean prison camp, and subsequently at other times, even when he was in America, they tried to send Japanese communists to kill Father. So even knowing that this was someone who had actively tried to eliminate him, Father went to meet Kim Il-sung. This is Father's recounting of that. Nonetheless, when I went to North Korea to meet him, I had to have a heart of love for him greater than that of his own mother. Nothing would have worked if I had gone there with the concept that he was an enemy. No equilibrium would have been created. That is why I had to take the position of a younger brother and treat Kim Il-sung as an older brother whom I had not seen for 40 years. Only then was it possible for our conversation to be cheerful, without any feeling of enmity, allowing me to give him some advice. If you have a copy of the Champumogyang, I recommend reading about when Father went to meet Kim Il-sung and the kind of heart that Father had. And it was amazing because he really did relate to him as he took the position of a younger brother. So in Korea, that means that the older brother is supposed to take care of the younger brother. There's kind of this automatic relationship that takes place. But Father says later in that quote that I just read, but if the older brother's doing wrong, then the younger brother needs to let him know. So that's exactly what Father did. With this kind of warm, loving heart, Father completely blasted the ideology of North Korea. But it's kind of like he did it with a smile on his face almost, so that, Kim Il-sung only felt love from Father. And it's really interesting that the one picture, if you recall the picture of Father and Kim Il-sung is holding Father's hand. And usually he stood very, kind of authoritatively whenever he had a picture taken. So all the people around him, around Kim Il-sung, were so shocked that he was holding Father's hand. But through his words to Kim Il-sung, Father was able to establish a relationship of love. So our goal is to seek to become impeccable in our words. That is a huge step towards perfection. When you do that, you give positive influence to others and help to build a healthy individual, family, and community. Remember, we don't grow alone. We also, by giving positive influence to others, we're able to inoculate ourselves from destructive words. Your impeccable words to yourself speak of your goodness and value and protect your heart. Consider this. Which is the greatest happiness? When God's beloved sons and daughters live on earth as a family and go to heaven as a family, or when a believing mother goes to heaven while the unbelieving father goes to hell, each family member to his or her own separate place. Truly, every human being should enter heaven, beginning with the parents and extending to all the children. That way, the whole family enters, the whole tribe enters, whole nations enter, and the whole world enters. Hence, these new parents will give birth to a worldwide family. Their family relationships will be the basis for a new culture and tradition, rooted in a new teaching of love, which never before existed in human history. Once it makes its appearance on earth, this complicated, sinful world will be transformed into the kingdom of heaven. So where is the beginning point of that? It really starts with our own words to ourselves and our words to one another. This is the meaning behind the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. This is why we seek to belong. We're not designed to go it alone. This is the beauty of our tradition and our faith community. It's the opposite of the sort of existential angst, I'm all alone in the universe and screw everybody kind of point of view that is often prevalent in our society. To be vulnerable is to accept yourself for who you are and be willing to be honest with others about your own inner world and dare to believe that you are lovable. Dare to believe in your own perfection. Just imagine how incredibly powerful we can be as human beings who reflect the nature of God when every word we speak is impeccable. Please join me in prayer. Our beloved Heavenly Parent, we are grateful for this lovely, sunny spring Sunday. We're grateful for the life that we have, for our health and our well-being, for the food that's on our tables, for the roof that's over our heads, for the water that we can just turn on our faucets. Many people in the world don't even have those simple things, Heavenly Parent. And yet we experience them so freely and so abundantly. We are grateful for these beautiful words of truth that our true parents have shared with us, for a deeper understanding and a deep, deep understanding of our own value and of the value of each other. Heavenly Parent, we know that our words create reality, and that if we want a different kind of world, if we want a different kind of church community, if we want a difference in our own family, if we want a difference in ourself, it kind of begins with the words that we speak to ourselves, the words that we speak to others, and it goes out from there. This world, when we look at it now, there's really a lot of division and a lot of people kind of going to their own corners and putting up their fists and seeing one another as enemies. And this has nothing to do with your ideal, Heavenly Parent. And we want to begin by just creating in ourselves that space where we see all of us connected, all of us as one. And that when we do interact with one another, we can do so using these kind of impeccable words. And that if false words come to us, we're able to recognize that and digest them and respond with love. This is truly the beginning point of the kingdom of heaven, is our own words. Thank you, Heavenly Parent, for this time together as brothers and sisters. We pray that everyone can have a wonderful week, and for our brothers and sisters working hard in Los Angeles, that they're able to see great fruits from their efforts. and that a wonderful coming together of brothers and sisters, unificationists and the Christian world can occur, and that your will can be accomplished. We thank you, Heavenly Parent, and I offer this report in the name of the Ono family, a blessed central family. Aju.
Thank you.